and welcome back. First off, I forgot to do some items from the Void pack because whoever made this is a little goofy, so we are going to finish off the common items and we will move on to the green ones. So first off, we're going to do the clock. Instant, love to have. I think I'd put it a little bit above the caution. Actually, no, a little bit behind the cautious select, just because it can blow up and then you've lost an item, right? And if you stack these up and then lose them, then you're just going to cry. I would put Power Elixir very situational, because sometimes it's going to save you and then you're just going to die right away anyway. So I'd put in situational. Mocha, I'm going to put into love to have. I'd put it a little bit above the clock, just because it's permanent and you get more permanent attack speed and movement speed, but it's very hard to notice. You kind of just stack them up and then like you're like, oh yay, I got goat hoof and I got like a soldier syringe, yeah. I'm gonna put roll pennies in the situational, bottom of situational. Like, actually, I'll put this towards the top because it's really good in a lot of situations if you're about to die. But roll pennies, I'm gonna put in the bottom of situational because it really depends on the character you're playing. If you're playing like Artificer or Huntress, you'll get some use out of it, but it's like sometimes you won't even notice because you're not taking that much damage. And oddly shaped opal, top of love to have. It's always nice to have an oddly shaped opal because it's basically just safer spaces but better. Right, with that out of the way, HEG. All right, you know what? I was planning on doing these all in their lonesome, but let's try doing these in comparison. HEG, I'm gonna put a little bit above gasoline. I love ATG. It's a really good item. Like, obviously it's god tier. ATG and ukulele are instant god tiers. You know, I'm gonna do ukulele as well because, you know, it's my video. I'm gonna put ukulele right there. Ukulele and ATG are some of the best proc items in the game, mainly because they're some of the only proc items in the game you can get consistently, where the other ones are mostly legendary. So they're just some of the best, honestly, and some of the best single target damage and some of the best AoE. Will-O-Wisps, I know this is a bit of a controversial statement, but I'm gonna put it towards the top of love to have. I really like it, but I don't think it's god tier. I honestly I prefer gasoline over a Will-O-Wisp any day. Hoopu Feather, I'm gonna put it into situational, like towards all the way at the top, right? It's really good. The problem is that it depends on the character you're playing. If you're playing like Acrid or a character such as Huntress or any of those characters that don't really need that much mobility because they have enough anyway, it feels very useless. And even for the characters that kind of need it, that kind of get some use out of it, it's mostly for map traversal. It's not very good for combat. Shurikens, I'm gonna put in the top of love to have. Actually, you know what? Bottom of god tier. Reason why is because some characters cannot some builds and some characters cannot proc off Kajiros, which is, you know, I'm gonna do these both right now. Kajiros and Runald's Band. Like, no, some characters just can't proc those items off, and they're some of the best items in the game, so you really need to be able to proc those off. Okay, Leashed Seed, very good. Actually, you know, I'm gonna put in the love to have because not many characters have that much of a problem with it, so I'll put it like here. I think that's a good spot for it. Predatory Instinct all the way into towards the top. I think I'd put it right behind it, ATG. Predatory Instinct is really good. Building crits on anything is really good, but getting attack speed for getting crits is really nice. Especially if you are building crits, like you probably should be, because crits are pretty easy to build since it's a common item to build them. Regenerating Scrap, situational and borderline useless at some points. It's very situational at best, just because like you need a printer that is also green and that you found it, obviously, and that it has a decent item in it. I mean, you can use it anyway, but most of the time I'll find a printer, be like, oh yeah, I can finally use my regenerating scrap, and then I find something better later on. Or you try to stack these up, and then you go into the Lunar Bazaar, and then you kind of just get infinite power, right? But you have to stack up 5 of these just to get infinite power, or else you have the chance of losing your ukulele and HEGs or something like that, or you have to like go to a scrapper and waste some time on that, right? Red Whip, I'm gonna say something a little controversial here for the Red Whip enjoyers. I'm gonna put it in the top of situational, right? You're gonna be running like a lot of these are movement based, and I feel like they're situational at best because you're just like, you have to be out of combat for a certain amount of time just to get the movement speed buff from this, where if you just stacked up energy drinks, you'd get it during combat and after combat, right? You know what? Okay, I'm gonna go with the rule that one item from each tier has to be put in in the squid tier. And that's gonna be squid. Squid polyp, yeah, let's go. Squid polyp tier. Squid, like, I love squid polyp, right? It's my favorite item. But we all knew it. Like, squid polyp is probably one of the worst green items because it's a green item. If it was a common item, I don't think anyone would bat an eye, because people are fine with bundle of fireworks. It's basically the same thing, just all the damage up front instead of just like it being spread out over like a timer, right? But since it's a rare item, like it's just, or an uncommon, my mistake. Since it's an uncommon, everyone hates it, and I get why. But I don't think it's as bad as everyone says. It's useful in its select circumstances, but if you need to scrap something for a red item in the Lunar Bazaar, we all know squid polyp's on the chopping block, right? Hello everyone. Alright, I'm back. Something went wrong. Alright, so Old Lore Stealth Kit, bottom of situational. I honestly prefer getting regenerating scrap because half the time you're dead anyway, right? In later stages you're gonna be dead anyway, but in the earlier stages, if you are about to die, and that's a huge situational bit, because half the time you're not going to be close to dying in an early stage, unless you're having a really crap run, right? But if you somehow got a Genesis loop, and you're getting your balls fondled, and you have an Old War Stealth Kit, then it might be somewhat useful. But I've very rarely gotten any use out of an Old War Stealth Kit. It's, you know what? Almost useless. The Harvester Sith, I think would put it you know, we'll put it right behind the Predatory Instinct. They're basically, I think they're interchangeable. Like, if you prefer getting healing on a character, then you use the Scythe more. But if you prefer getting attack speed, then you use the Predatory Instinct more. It kind of just depends on the character you're playing. Like, for, I mean, some characters get use out of both. Like, Rex would get use out of both of these. But it's just kind of up to personal preference. I like the Harvester Scythe a lot, but the Predatory Instinct has more use cases, so I think I'd put it a little bit behind the Predatory. Fuel Cell, I'm gonna put into very good. Bottom of very good. Almost situational, but like it just kind of, but like you can always get a little bit of use out of your equipment unless it's something like the aspects, right? But on everything else, it can be very useful, especially the hat. The hat is going to be the best item. If you pair this with the Tricorned hat, that's a pretty overpowered combo. I honestly think if you are ever going to play a God tier run, you need to have the Tricorned hat and a few extra fuel cells, just so you can keep popping off your ability, right? Best item in the game to pair with the equipment Tricorned hat, alright? And you get the Tricorned hat, by the way, after you use the funny Monster Hunter. Right here, wait, we'll go look at it. Yeah, you get the Tricorn hat. It's down here. You get the Tricorn hat after using this buddy. Wait, it's my bad. There it is. Tricorn hat. Tricorn hat. We're gonna put it in the God, all the way at the top of God tier right now. Screw it. I'm skipping everything. Tricorn hat. S tier. It's God of all of them. It's staying up there. All right, but after so if you pair the fuel cell with the Tricorn hat, or tri-tipped hat, or whatever it's called, easy S tier strategy. You're probably gonna make it all the way to round 20. We're gonna put the infusion in top of very good. 100 health is not much to scoff at, and in comparison to the bison steak, it's better because you get 100 health right off the bat instead of like, I mean it's not right off the bat because you have to stack it up, but 100 health is equal to 4 bison steaks, right? Where that bison steak could be put into, like, I don't know, any of these. The infusion could be put into any of these as well, obviously, but like I feel like the infusion is something I'm a little less in the mood to drop, right? Because an extra 100 health is not much to scoff at, whereas like 25 feels like nothing. Bandolier, I feel like people sleep on this shit. Putting in the bottom of God tier, I love it so much. For those characters that really rely on getting their cooldowns back, like Artificer and stuff, it is really, really strong. And even for the characters that don't need it that much, like Akron, so his ultimate will be like spammable, right? And that is really good for Acrid, and it's good for almost every character. There's only like maybe... No, I don't think there's any character that will not benefit from the cooldown reduction on this. The only problem with it is that you have to walk towards an enemy that has just died, which can be a little bad for some characters who try to stay out of the fight. Berserker Greaves, I feel like this is overrated. I think I put it in the top of love to have, but I'm not going to put it in S tier. Just because, like, you have to kill 4 enemies in quick succession, which for some characters can be a little lame. Where's the item? Oh, yeah, it's similar to the Harpoon, but the Harpoon is worse in, like, every way. I put it in very good. Like, it's not bad to have, because being able to change up your movement speed can really screw with the AI and make it so they miss their shots. But it's not as good as attack speed, so I'm going to put the Berserker Greaves in the top of love to have, kind of on the precipice of, actually, I'll put it a little bit behind the Wisp, but, like, on the precipice of God tier. Rose Belt Buckler, situational, top of situational, almost very, actually, you know what, bottom of very good, almost situational. A lot of characters can attack while running, so it's nice to be able to run and not take as much damage. Damage reduction is always nice. Chronobauble, one of the part of like the holy quadrilogy to get the death mark, so instant. I want to put an S tier actually. I'm going to put it in very good. On its own merits, it's very good, right? Being able to train monsters is a very good skill, or a very good thing that an item can do for you. This will slow them for you whenever you hit them, so it is very, very nice to have. Wax Quail, I'm gonna put in the situation. Actually, I think I put in almost useless. I've had very little use from this thing ever. Like, I don't think I get much use from this. Honestly, I'll bump this up to situational because I don't think they're in the same tier. I don't think Wax Quail's in the same tier as, because at least I get some use out of this, right? But like Wax Quail, I actually don't feel like I get any use out of it. Actually, you know what? I'm bumping it to Squid Poly. I'll put this here. Wax Quail, I dump instantly if I can find a scrapper, and same with Squid Poly. So I think that's what I'm gonna use to justify that one. Guillotine, I'm gonna put a little bit behind the ATG, but above the crit items. Being able to kill an elite faster, especially if you're going for long runs with Malachite and that can make any other grunts invisible, can be very strong against those types of elite grunts. It's just really good, right? It's always good to be able to kill enemies, especially if you're playing a character like Acrid. Shipment, I'm gonna put in situation. I'm gonna put it in a actually very good. Because at least like it's not this tiny box like with the rusted key, right? It's not this tiny ass box that you barely notice in the corner of the map, right? It's this giant dropship multi-shot that has a smoke going off of it, which makes it way easier to see, and you can get legendary items from it consistently if you stack it up enough. So I'll put it in the bottom of very good, because if you only get like one, then it's not as good as like getting, it's not very good, because most of the time you're only going to be getting, maybe you might get a green, but most of the time you're just going to be getting commons. But if you can stack it up, it's almost god tier. Warhorn, I'm gonna put into love to have. Yeah, I think no, actually I'm gonna put in the very good, right? It does depend a little bit on the equipment you have as well, but almost every equipment will proc it off in some way, except for maybe the aspects, because I haven't used them enough. It's not very good with the aspects, I'm assuming, but like you can even proc it off on MasterCard, so I'd say it's pretty good. But again, it has a condition to proc it off, so I think it drops it down from love to have to very good. Lepin Daisy, it's situational. Most of the time this activates and I'm already done killing everything and I'm just like, whatches? But if you're taking the Blood Shrine for Mithrix fight, then it's really good. Because then it'll just heal away all the damage that you've been taking from the Blood Shrine. Actually, I'll put in the top of situational. Ignition Tank, holy shit, I'm putting it right behind, I'm putting it there. Actually, I'm gonna put this here. I think that's a good spot for it. Ignition Tank is ahead of everything else because you can stack up gasoline and you can stack up Kajiro's bands and do a ton of damage with igniting stuff on fire, right? And don't even get me started on the combo of Ignition Tank, with Artificer. Holy shit, you become immortal. You become a god of doom and destruction. It's actually insane. I love Ignition Tank. It's one of the best items in the game. Moving on. Retaliation Wire. I'm gonna put it very good. Like, I've thought about this a lot, right? Yeah. I've thought about this a lot. And I would put in situational because it really only gets a lot of use out of like a few certain scenarios where if you're playing like Loader, Acrid, maybe Mercenary if you get enough like infusions and stuff. But most of the time it'll be like Rex or something where you can take the damage and then deal more damage out. But like I've had situations where I've had this on Railgunner, on Commando, on Huntress, and just been shot by like a Wisp, and it gets rid of the Wisp for me, and then I don't have to worry about it. So I think it helps you if you have tunnel vision as well. But it's not good to rely on, so I think I'm going to put it into very good. Gorog's Tome! I'm going to put into Love to Have, a little bit behind the Clock, because I prefer to have the Clock, obviously. Actually, you know, I think I'm going to... Yeah, I think that's a good spot. I might tweak these off screen, but yeah, Gorog's Tome is going to go right there for now. I think in the early stages, this is incredibly useful, especially before round 4. Round 4 can make and break a run, because sometimes you can just be stuck there waiting for enemies for so long just to try and get your legendary item, just to get like a spare drone part, right? Well, this can speed that up for you at least, and make it so your run is not completely dead in the water, which can be very, very strong. So I think Love to Have is a good spot for it. I just think that after a certain point, it becomes kind of useless. Deathmark. Yeah, it's up here. It's up here with these items. Like on the same tier. Actually, yeah, on the same tier as all these. Deathmark is a very big, quintessential like staple of long runs, because if you can't proc Deathmark, then, and you don't have like, if you don't have Shattering Justice or Symbiotic Scorpion, your run is kind of doomed to fail at some point. If you don't get really good, if you don't consistently get good on RNG, which sometimes doesn't happen, right? RNG is RNG, so it's gonna be random number generation, and it's gonna be random. So I think procking a good Deathmark is really, really good. I was talking to someone on the last video about this. For those of you who want to consistently proc Deathmark, so I'll go over a few of those items right now. Stun Grenade, it can proc Deathmark, so I would stack a few of those up because it's really nice to be able to, for training. So is Chronobobble, it can proc off Deathmark. So can like Hemorrhage, Poison, and basically any status effect that comes from specific characters, those can proc up Deathmark too. So for Acrid mains, it's not too big of a problem because all you have to do is get like Bleed, Gasoline, and Chronobobble, and then boom, you proc off Deathmark pretty consistently. But for those of you who don't play those types of characters, Chronobobble, Stun Grenade, and Bleed with Gasoline. But Stun and Chronobobble can be a little bit inconsistent, right? I saw that, I know if you turn your Chronobobble into Tentabobble, it will be about 5% chance on every hit to make it, to root them, right? So, if you want to do it more consistently, I would grab, I'd grab yourself a Monster Hunter, right? I forgot the name of it. I think it's like Tricorn Hunter or something. You'd grab one of you'd get one of these from like maybe the Artifact of, if you're going for another run through. Try to grab one of these, and then go use it on the Imp Overlord for the Shatter Spleen. And since you're usually probably going to have a decent bit of crits by this point, so like maybe a 30% chance, then you can go fish for the Needle Point, which will give you Corruption, which is another status effect, but it's a lot easier to proc than like a Stun Grenade and a Chronobobble. So then it'll be a little easier to proc off. So usually I would say get the Shatter Spleen, build a little bit of crits, and grab a Needle Point. Because then you get another, you can keep the Bleed, but now you get another crit, another proc chance, right? If you agree, tell me in the comments if you have any, if you want, like, if you think something should be moved around, or if you think Lepton Daisy is the best item ever added to the video game, or if you want to talk about the Tri-Tipped Hat not being the best item in the game, leave my channel. Tri-Tipped Hat is going to stay at the top of God tier because it's the best item in the game. But yeah, next video we will be going over the red items. So I really hope you enjoyed, and I really hope you have a grand, fantastic day.